India will be celebrating her 76th anniversary of freedom and 77th year of independence this 15th August. The countdown for India's Independence Day has already begun and it is just 2 days away. The relentless struggle for India's freedom had culminated on 15th August 1947 with the country attaining freedom from centuries of British rule. India's freedom struggle saw the bloods of hundreds of thousands of revolutionaries being shed, as well as the large-scale endorsement of non-violence preached by Mahatma Gandhi. The Gandhian philosophy of non-violence not only had its impacts on India, but it also influenced political movements across the world. In this video, we take a look at the countries which were deeply affected by Gandhian philosophy in their struggles. The civil rights movement in America was massively influenced by the Indian independence movement led by Mohandas Gandhi. Gandhi's influence on Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who led the civil rights movement for African Americans until his death in 1968, was very significant. He had first gained knowledge of Gandhi's teachings during his seminary training. King had argued that Gandhi's philosophy of non-violence was the only morally and practically sound method open to oppressed people in their struggle for freedom. Martin Luther King Jr. had first put the principle of non-violence to work during the Montgomery bus boycott, which was triggered by Rosa Parks refusing to give up her seat to a white passenger. The mass protest by African Americans to desegregate the bus system in Alabama had lasted 13 months. It finally ended with the US Supreme Court in 1956 striking down segregation on the bus system as unconstitutional. In 1959, on a 5-week trip to India with his wife, Martin Luther King Jr. had also met with the Gandhi family, Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru, and other high-profile Indian activists. The anti-apartheid movement in South Africa also drew strength and inspiration from India's freedom movement. The leading light of the struggle, Nelson Mandela, had described Gandhi, whose experiences in South Africa triggered his awakening as a freedom fighter, as his role model. Mandela was inspired by the Satyagraha campaign led by Gandhi, which later inspired the formation of the African National Congress and strengthened Mandela's belief in the idea of shared humanity. His view of non-violence as a tool against oppression was further strengthened by the nearly 3 decades he spent in prison, during which he avidly read books by Gandhi. After his release from prison, Mandela became the first president of apartheid-free South Africa and brought the country together through his Truth and Reconciliation Commission. He had written in his biography, "Non-violent passive resistance is effective as long as your opposition adheres to the same rules as you do. But if peaceful protest is met with violence, its efficacy is at an end." For me, non-violence was not just a moral principle, but a strategy. Myanmar's Aung San Suu Kyi was seen as an international symbol of peaceful protest against the brutal juntas that had ruled Myanmar for decades. Like King and Mandela before her, Suu Kyi also took inspiration from the Indian independence movement and the non-violent principles espoused by Gandhi. In a 2012 visit to India, she was quoted as saying that India's freedom struggle and its leaders, including Gandhi and Jawaharlal, had inspired her in her quest for a democratic Myanmar. Sri Lanka's freedom movement, which got its own independence in 1948, was also inspired by Gandhi. Apart from these nations, African countries like Ghana and Tanzania were also deeply affected by Mahatma Gandhi's ideas of non-violence and passive resistance in their struggle against colonial powers.